Workshop's ready. But Kalp, are you ready? Let's go to Mongolian Heights to check out how this one's going to play out. And this is interesting because this is a map that historically would have been really good for the Roost, right? Like thinking back to just a few weeks ago, we saw the Roost like ban-worthy on this map. They were really popular. They were really good because you got to the Imperial Age. And usually that's the kind of remarkable thing about Mongolian Heights is it's a type of map that does drag out to a later timing. And also on top of that, with the Roost, you're able to pull onto the water early. But there's been a lot of changes since then, right? Changes to the way that the Roost convert their ships, changes to the way that combat works on naval, as well as changes to the Roost's hyper late game situation. So I feel like the HRE is not as discounted as they once were in this matchup. But they do still have some downsides. Remember that they are still mainly a melee combatant civ in the hyper late game with Langsneck, spears, and man-at-arms in a meta that is very quickly getting overwhelmed by ranged units, which is an area where the Roost can excel, right? Because they've got the horse archers, they've got access to the streltsy, and if both sides do go into siege, keep in mind that while the HRE has a lot of economical benefits, if you get down to a raw numbers game of what's left on the map, well, the Roost, they get the high armory, they pay less for their siege, and on top of that, they're also turning these finite resources into bigger quantities, whereas the HRE is just taking these finite resources and getting through them quicker. I think that's something to always remember about the HRE. It's why I think they, especially since the nerf to Regnitz Cathedral, can feel a little bit finicky when you go into hyper late game. Because as you strip the map dry and there's nothing left, there is some benefits on the food side at least, right, with your farms, because the Holy Inspiration makes you gather 40% quicker. But anything that's locked as a fixed quantity, like a gold vein, a tree, or a stone outcropping, starts to teeter against them. Because if you were to carve this up and both sides were to take 50% of the map and get 50% of the resources, this lad right here, the Roost, they're going to be getting a lot more than 50%. Because whatever wood they're going to get is an extra 20% on top of that. Then there's the bounty system at the start. How much do they get from that? And then on top of that, there's also hunting cabins that could have been plopped around the place, generating passive gold infinitely. So kind of deceptive with that. Even more so now that you can't get the 900 gold per minute with the Regnitz Cathedral, it's now down to 600, which is still a respectively high amount. Keep in mind that you might not get that for free. It depends on whether Viper wants to boom up, because this is one of those civs that historically has played towards those relics as well, with the Abbey of Trinity as a castle age up, giving you access quickly into the Warrior Monks. But I wonder if that's where Viper's going to go, because he does play a very different style to a lot of these civs we've been seeing at the moment, especially when you offer him up maps that maybe allow for a more defendable location, which I think this map can allow that with the choke points, as long as you lock them in, and both players in theory could end up locking them in. Then you can think about multi-TC. You can think about like expanding Y before expanding tool, right? Going for the 3 TC, whatever it may be, and then boosting up quickly Castle into Imperial. And that is more to the style of Viper. Like, if you give him the option to economically exploit, he's going to take it. Like, honestly, he's going to snatch your hand off. Actually, no, that's not true. He'll leave the hand, but he'll take any rings or anything that looks like bling that you had on your arms, because he's a greedy boy. We've seen it so many times in the last few days. Multi-TCs as soon as his opponent shows no sign of aggression. That being said, though, will he want to do that up against the HRE? Because most players are kind of in agreement, or always historically have been in agreement, that if you're trying to eco-boom against the HRE, you're throwing the game. It's hard to match the timings on the Civ up to the Castle Age point, and also even into the Imperial. But I think something that could allow that for Viper is this right here. He's the only one on fish right now. Kalp hasn't gone with the sea. He doesn't see value in it, and I can kind of see where he's coming from. He has got a lot of sheep, so I think Kalp's plan right now, like his route to winning, is naval at Castle Age. Because he has this many sheep, he should be able to boost himself up to Castle without needing to spread out. And once he arrives there and drops a dock, he can instantly get into the Hulk, something that the Roost can't do, right? Like, it's very easy to forget with how dominant this Civ has been in the early game on water, how terrible they are in the late game, because they don't have a warship. They just have upgraded attack ships, and to get those upgrades, you have to spend a hefty amount of time researching them in the docks. Ooh. Oh, this is big. Viper. Oh, he's going to lose it. There's no way to go. There's no way to go. He's cut off. He's cut off. Oh, he's panicking. Kalp. He didn't micro correctly, though. He misses the opportunity. Viper sidesteps it. Oh, that's a big deal. That's actually a big deal. If not for the wolves, for the sheep as well, because what we just said, right? He wants to condense on land. He wants as much food as possible on land underneath this Ark and Chapel. Imagine if he got all these sheep. That would have been 10 plus the already in his base, what, 14 I think it was? Was it 10? I don't know. It would have been a lot, folks. That's all you need to know for sure. And now Viper, on top of that, moves in with a second scout to yoink the wolves. Wow. They don't call him the snake for nothing. This guy is slivery as a slug. Because, you know, a snake isn't quite slivery enough in my eyes for what I just witnessed there. That sidestep that looks like he's panicking. He actually identified, he waited perfectly. He was watching at all times. If we had both player perspectives, I'm pretty sure Kalp looked away from the skirmish back to his base temporarily. And in that moment, he actually baits him in with the auto aggro, the attack click that's already occurred, and then shifts around and runs out right underneath his nose. What a play out of Viper. And that means that he gets, what, 10 sheep back to his base, which equals 50 bounty, in conjunction with the fact he takes that food away from Kalp. Also, the wolf factor. He got one of the wolf, he's going to get second one. And, folks, that means Viper is going to get the tier 3 bounty. Oh, my giddy. I mean, you wouldn't have expected this. Especially considering Kalp went for 2 scouts. Imagine how demoralizing that is. You go 2 scouts like this, and you don't even stop him from getting tier 3 bounty. You don't even stop him from getting water. You don't stop him from much. And now it looks like they are getting aggressive in water, so Kalp did go for the dock after reaching feudal. However, it is 2 attack ships versus the 1 galley. If you look at the cost of these as well, it kind of adds up, right? Galley's 180, 180 at 360 total. These attack ships are only 180. So you can 2 for 1 this, and it's a good investment. However, he might want to think about getting the missile resistance. A blacksmith would actually serve him very well here. Remember, these galleys do 6 rounds of attack. Looks like instead he's just going to convert most of the fleet here. Fishing boat's being targeted out. Remember, he garrisoned that in, and Kalp, he's eventually going to lose this galley. He's trying to build a second one, but I don't know if it's going to be quick enough. I'm pretty sure he loses the galley before it's up. Fishing boat is going to go down as Viper didn't actually garrison it. Big mistake there. But I'm pretty sure these archer ships should be safe against the galley. And it looks like Kalp is going to consolidate his control over the passes to the south and the north side as he gets them walled up. The galley, the repairs, Kalp! He gets it! He gets it just in time! Villagers are going to be targeted. Not enough damage to get them. And that saves the day. Kalp gets the second galley out. He now has the edge. What a clutch play. And he's not even done yet. He's going in for the repairs again. One of the archer ship's going to go down. Kalp shifts the injured villager to the back of the formation, gets the tap repair out, and then he can run away. 1 villager down, but totally worth it to deny the waterfront from Viper. What a play out of the German. You see Viper's like, I don't even know what to do with these anymore. They're worthless. Oh, wow. Now, Viper definitely not out of this. Remember, he's got a lot of value on land. He's about to crack that bounty as he's tapping down the remaining sheep. On top of that, he could probably boom up to castle quicker than Kalp now, considering his investment in the waterfront. And although Kalp will get more value down the line by going to these fishing boats, he does have to build up the fleet first. So it is a heavy investment initially on the wooden front to get food back later on. For now, I mean, Kalp, he's impressing. He's even on the stone now. So is this going to be the secondary TC we've been seeing a lot? I don't necessarily think so. This could just be a save up for a keep at the beginning of Castle. We have been seeing a lot of double TC at the moment out of HRE. It does seem to be like a kind of newly established build that's starting to emerge. And it does look decent. Like, there's definitely some potential when I've been seeing it out of a few pros. I think this would be very late to do it. And in fact, you're already going to be behind Viper if you do. You can see he's already boosted his up. And this is a beautiful thing you can do is the roost. When things get tough, the tough get going, and Viper goes straight to the Golden Gate and banks himself 300 stone for just the price of 200 gold. And that is the power of the Golden Gate. And after that, straight back on the gold, and all of a sudden, eco numbers should start to boost. Understanding that he needs to actually insulate himself now that his opponent's taken the fishing area away from him. And this is actually really good for Kalp because he didn't get those sheep right when he was trying to chase him back. Remember, Viper got those 10 sheep away. So he would have had to have come out eventually for additional food sources. By getting the fishing, this actually delays his switch over to farms considerably by 5, 6, 7 minutes at least. Meaning he can actually prioritize going for a quicker Imperial, and then you can also think about pushing out an army before he has to worry about insulating his economy. Yeah, Viper doesn't want to be caught in that transition either, so he will make the switch up on land over on the deer. Understanding that he's probably going to be quite safe, as HRE players don't tend to get aggressive outside of these 2 scouts. These 2 scouts that might be a little bit annoying, but where are Vipers? Oh, well, that's the problem. They're nowhere near ready to help. And Shiv's out aren't going to cut it, really. 6 damage per stab. And remember, the scouts do heal over time. So this is just a losing battle for you. You need to get a troop out. And this is the frustration. Viper was caught with his hand in the cookie jar. He didn't want to build anything. Now forced to go back to the archery ranges. This is pretty respectable what Calp has done. He denies the timing. So now Viper has to invest in feudal a little bit, meaning that Calp will be the first player in this game to reach castle. Man, I love watching Calp. I've missed watching this guy. 2nd TC as well. Although it's delayed, overall this feels good because he should be able to crack that castle. I say that, he has actually pulled a little bit away from the food source right now. It seems like he's cruise moding a little with this investment into fishing, and it means that Viper will still beat him to it. And this is a big in. Look at this. The high trade house deletes the hunting cabin. I think he could have actually got more room on this side, but it should be an inconsequential difference of 2 to 3 trees. But High Trade House definitely going to return some good bang for buck here. Understood that he didn't really want to go into relics quickly, as there are 3 on his opponent's side of the map and 3 on his own. He should get 3 relics eventually. And although the Warrior Monks are more expensive out of a normal monastery, you might as well get this infinite gold trickle to the maximum, right? You'll eventually get 300 gold trickle from relics anyway. Might as well get an extra 100 and probably 50 on top of it. In fact, is this going to be 160? I'm not going to... you guys thought it was going to be a 9. 167. Oh, come on! So close! Oh, dude, do I at least get 9 out of the 10 marks for showing my working? Guys, I didn't even select the trees. All right, give me some credit here. You know what it is? I think it's this tree right here. This tree's a lie. I don't... Wait, no, there it is. We'll blame that. We'll blame one of these trees. That tree. That one right. Look at that one right there. You see that? You see that gold line? I was lied to. I was bamboozled. Why don't you go home, tree? Why don't you want to go in your home? And straight away into the monastery. So Viper now going to collect those relics like we talked about, understanding that it's unlikely Calp will intercept him there anytime soon. However, what? All right, we were so busy being estimational geniuses, our estimates could not have calculated this. Calp doesn't care about the Regnitz Cathedral. He's gone for the Burgrave Palace. Now, he'll still get some gold trickle, but this doesn't mean he's going to get substantially less, because he doesn't have the Regnitz Cathedral, which, remember, it's similar to a monastery, but it can hold only 2 relics. It can't do any of the research techs. But what it can do is have, so I guess it's not really that similar. It can have relics banked inside it, and instead of getting 100 gold per minute, you get 300 gold. So he has actually sacrificed 400 gold per minute for this. You're right, the Regnitz Cathedral isn't like a monastery. It's better! But it seems like he doesn't care. Tithe Barns will still make this worthwhile over time as well. And also, to be honest, I like the idea of getting the monastery eventually anyway, just so you can get your hands on Inspired Warrior and maybe even Benediction. There's a lot of useful things here, actually. Like, the villager side of the HRE's prelates don't really get utilized that well in the late game, in that it's always been about the buffing of the gathering, but I've never really seen people utilize Benediction. The 15% increase in construction speed seems like it could be quite handy. I'd have to check the stats on whether it's a flat rate or it's based on a percentage of the build speed. And the reason that matters, by the way, is remember that whenever you build something with a villager, it's 100% build speed to start with, and then every additional villager is 25%. So logically, if you're getting Benediction and it gives an extra 50% build speed, the question has to be asked, does that mean that a villager that passed the first one is adding about 3 to 4% to that build speed? Or are they adding 15% on top of their 25% contribution? Because if it's 15% on top of the 25% contribution, this would be huge in the future. You know what's huge? Calp's Count and Man-at-Arms. Power the Burgrave Palace. And the keep going up. Viper, buddy, this... I mean, you wish you had Benediction right now. This is not going to be built quick enough. He needs troops to defend. Crossbows are out of position as well. Springwood has at least been denying equity away from the waterfront for Carp, but Carp denying the defenses and forcing the villagers to all go idle and far back. And it looks like he'll have to turn onto the crossbows. It won't be a good trade for Carp directly militarily, but the delays in the base of Viper in terms of the villagers on the eco and also the build up this keep is going to give him some time to move in. This is what he does with that time. Because right now he doesn't have the infrastructure as a problem. This is the thing about Burgrave Palace. It's quite a cool concept, but it still feels like it falls short of the mark. Because although you end up having the ability to push a lot of Brax units, you don't have the ability to push anything else. Right? It's not like you've already built up 5 stables, 5 archery ranges, and you have a healthy composition, a ratio of ranged and melee. Instead, you just have melee crap in a ranged meta. I think that's the big issue with this. Like, maybe if there was an ability to change the Burgrave Palace between the production types, and that had an internal cooldown of like a minute or 2, or maybe if you had the option to choose what you produce out of a Burgrave Palace when you build it. That could be cool. Because so far, I really haven't seen it hit the mark. It does have a place, and it's usually to do with key castle age rush timings. But those are very hard to achieve in the current meta if you're relying heavily on just melee alone. It does require your opponent doesn't build anything but eco. And then you make the argument, if you're arriving in castle age on the Burgrave Palace, like, by the time you get these troops across the battlefield into your opponent's base, if they were only playing eco, aren't they at a stage where they can just transition hard into military anyway? Especially if they're playing a civ that gets 20% more wood, and thus can afford the additional military infrastructure. I'm kind of wondering if some of this choice was also informed by the lack of wood. I just don't know if it's worth it if that's the logic, right? If part of the reason you've done Burgrave Palace is to also save a huge amount of wood at that stage in the game, realistically, like, yes, wood is a finite resource, but you're only saving 5 trees worth, which is pretty inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. Speaking of wood usage, Viper will make sure that Cal pays that wood elsewhere, as that is a lot of fishing ships being targeted and nothing he can do to protect them. Can't even Gary them all. He'll try to just run them away. Oh, wait, what? Cal, was that a misclick? Oh no, they ran out of fish! Oh no. Well, that's everything given over for free then. That's a heavy hit. Like, how many fishing boats is that down the drain now? He must have at least sniped 10 total overall, these 2 Springwolves, up and down the river. So, even at 10, that's a 750 wood investment. Springwolves cost 250 resource of gold and wood. So, you've almost returned the cost of building these, and yet you still have them at the end of everything. Now, look at this out of Viper. Yes! The hunting cabin. Folks, y'all be sleeping on this. You see these trees, you're like, that's not many trees. It's just some straggler trees. Totally not worth it, right? Wrong. The quantity of trees in this area, because it's all around the hunting cabin, is somewhat comparative to when you drop a hunting cabin on the side of a tree line. Right? Without these straggler trees, this tree line is down at like 26. This hunting cabin should end up getting him about 25, 26, I think. Oh, wait, no, let him finish it. I need to be right. Let me be right. We didn't see the number, guys. There wasn't a number at all. Nope, there was no number. It definitely wasn't higher than the number I gave. Actually, no, that's good. Because it's higher, look, I was right. He got 31 gold per minute out of that, folks. That's how good it is, all right? So, what are we learning here today, folks? Don't sleep on straggler trees. I mean, realistically, don't sleep on any tree. There's a chance that if you just, fall off, you're going to hit your head in a branch or possibly get impaled. Speaking of trees, hunting cabins, losing value. Damn, Calp is punishing him for this. These are pricey as well, as 100 wood each. Although passive gold was good for the moment, Viper's going to have to find a way to put that to good use, and he is with the tech up. High armory ready, free workshops ready. But Calp, are you ready? Let's find out. Marching south here. By the way, something to just highlight. Have you guys noticed this yet? You seen this number? Viper managed to get 565 bounty without killing the boar. Let that sink in. This snake got 565 bounty, and there's still another 150 he could have had on the map. What an absolute hunting chad. Oh, wait on a sec. There's even more than that. There's 2 sheep down here as well. Good lord. I mean, that's impressive. That is actually really impressive. On a map like Mongolian Heights as well, that's not easy to achieve. A lot of equity tends to get denied away, but not in this case. And uh-oh. Speaking of getting denied, second wall. Calp's like, I've broken through. Ah, no, you're wrong, Calp. That was my distraction wall. Although the distraction's going to run dry here. Rushing to keep up. Baiting him away, but not quick enough. No, he sees it. Calp right in. Streltsy now coming out to play. Villagers just being sniped down. The keep's not going to go up. Mistakes have been made. Viper a little bit too greedy. He's going to be punished for this. Crossbows do come in with a backstab, but there's just not enough of him. He's going to have to retreat away. A heavy strike by Calp, and now Calp with a flood-in point to the backside of Viper's base. Also, remember, Calp has the sacred sites right now. They are ticking down. So that's another issue on the long line of problems that Viper needs to solve right now. He's losing ground on his own side, and thus losing vital resources. And also, he has to worry about losing the game because of sacred sites. At least he's not losing technologically, because remember, folks, I know, I can't believe I'm about to say it, but Calp, he's playing the HRE, and he has yet to go up to Imperial at 21 minutes in the game, despite the fact he had the opportunity, because he invested in the military force. Military force that has found some value, but in these choke points is just going to get picked apart. The streltsy are too strong. And this is what we were worried about, right? We'd highlight this point in the game. You reach this phase, and although the HRE match up a little bit better as the Roost did get nerfed in the late game compositions, this is still a viable option. And if there's something we know about the Snake Man, it's that he loves guns. In fact, you would be forgiven for thinking he was American with the amount of guns we see him own on a game-by-game basis. Like, this guy has to be the most avid gun enthusiast I've actually seen in Age of Empires 4. Whether it's streltsy, hand cannoneers, whatever it is, he loves him in the composition. And you know what the best part about playing the Rus, if this is your go-to? They're cheaper. 90 food, 90 gold. Not only that, not only are they cheaper, remember that they get buffed up damage and attack speed. Their DPS gets much higher than the counterpart hand cannoneers, and they also have the same range. This unit is just remarkable. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that Viper isn't just a Roost main, considering how many hand cannoneer games we've cast of his recently. It seems like this would be the natural fit. Now, one issue you do run into when you arrive in this point in the game as the Rus is what we just saw those walls before. You can't build stone walls, so it's going to be very hard to defend on multiple flanks if Calp continues this raid format. Speaking of things you can't have, it's almost like he's just mocking him. You know when you just see someone like they get out of breath grating cheese, you know, that kind of level of unhealthiness, and you just like you bench press like, I don't know, 20 kilos, and they can't do that, and they're jealous. Well, that's Viper right now looking at this wall. He wishes he could do this, but he can't build stone walls. We will have to, however, to get through them, and that's why the bombards are going to arrive in good timing. Calp, speaking of timings, 23 minutes in the game, but Imperial Age is reached. Needs a little bit of time before he has the tech ups. Also needs to rebuild the army. Look at the numbers, actually, because Calp, after that aggression, he went back for his tech up. He's left himself militarily weak, and he's out of position, meaning with bombards, he can easily be breached on these stone walls and then be denied on the sacred site. And he actually built the Elsbach Palace. What? No way. I did not expect this. Now, remember, the Elsbach Palace, it's a big, beefy keep. Padded stats, and also this influence, as you can see, reducing damage taken by buildings by 33%. Sadly for Calp, and I don't know if this is an experimentation or not, it doesn't work on stone walls. If you ever have a doubt whether the influence works on some folks, just click the building, you see all these little pluses. They'll tell you everything you need to know. Nibbing in. Streltsy. We'll get rid of the... Wait, what were the prelates even doing? Calp's plan to deal with the siege. I know! I'll convert them all to Catholicism! Denied. Orthodoxy rules supreme here. Viper. 2 bombards here. We'll be able to breach. Keep being constructed. Calp. How do you really stop him from decapping this, though? More troops coming down. Viper, the full range format. In fact, would you guys like to try and find the melee units in Viper's formation? Do you see them at all? Do you see them? They're here, guys. This is his range. This is his melee one. Remember, streltsy, like, if they were to ever use their melee, they actually have decent melee for a range unit. However, that never seems to actually come out. They just gun people down. And let's be realistic about this. Who needs a front line if their front line dies too quickly? Checkmate. Moving in a little bit premature there from Viper. Calp. Now, this is a good plan until you run out of area to build things. And Calp, this town center, you know why he's building it. It's emergency repairs. He wants to keep the infrastructure up here. He wants to keep the fences alive. But the bombards, I mean, they can change targets. You need to respond soon, and that's why Calp is amassing a troop. The numbers here, almost ready to go. Wrapping around, the Riders of Rohan going in deep. Elite Horsemen trying to cut off reinforcements. Remember, they do get bonus damage up against the streltsy. A hefty amount, 26 damage per poke. That's what it's going to do to them. Stop more reinforcements coming out. There we go, there's a melee form. Axes out, boys. I like how the axes just get small so quickly, right? They go from using bardishas to hand axes. Let's not even get into that discussion. Let's focus on the game. There's too much to focus on here, as the walls are going to be denied. Viper starting to breach through. Elsbach Palace is being targeted. Third bombard did make it out. Mistakes made. Calp, the reason he moved the horseman like that, he was trying to intercept more siege. It was too late. Now he needs to go. Viper is going to go for the quick walls. Quick walls. There it is. Blocks him off at the wrong place, though. Couldn't get it across here because the stone wall's in the way. Creates the choke point and holds him there. Look at the play. Viper blocks him out. The streltsy stand their ground. That's a clutch play right there. That's a beauty. Viper, understanding that he doesn't want to fight directly in the streltsy. He needs to get rid of the bombards quick. Win condition right now for Calp is this sacred site, but the sacred site, crossbows are going to be thrown away on it just to get the decap. Nothing has stopped this. Streltsy holding in the choke point. Mangonels moving in, but focusing on the wrong thing here, and they don't have enough splash damage. Streltsy are going to stand. And the sacred site will not. Enough crossbowmen here, just enough to get the decap, and back to square one for Calp, as it will reset the sacred site timer. And Viper, some people look and go, well, he had the wall. Why did he not go on the wall? Because the wall wasn't what mattered. They were just an effective front line. We highlighted earlier, that is his front line, and it holds long enough to get rid of the victory condition for Calp. Now he's going to have to reset and think about this again. Mangonels are still an edge for him. You can see the damage they can do. An effective solution up against the Gunpowder infantry because they're so pricey. So even with the nerfed damage on the Mangonels, because of how pricey each individual unit is, you can get some value. But the other thing you have to be a little bit worrisome of is the double time. The double time can allow Viper to gap close on the Mangonels. And although you have 8 missile resistance, these units do a hefty 38 damage by default. So you will not survive that. No, I mean, if you look at the scores, they'd be neck and neck, but there's more to this than scores. It's the state of the game. Right now, although Calp was denied his win condition, he still holds a chunk of Viper's land. And that means that the pressure is here. Viper, because he went into the streltsy, he's unlikely to move elsewhere anytime soon. He needs to boot his opponent out. It means that Calp can spread out, exploit everything on the map on his side without any sort of harassment coming into his eco lines. And Viper is kind of stuck in a turtle state for the moment. Treb. Drunk driver, drunk driver, drunk driver, drunk driver. Okay. Realized a little bit too late. We've all been there. Not drunk driving, I hope. Viper now starting to get his wooden fortresses up, so he has a soft staging point. Spawn upgrades can be pretty beefy in these. Will make it a little bit more frustrating for Calp to try and take a fight around the sacred site. The big issue right now, actually, is unless he builds a transport ship, and he is doing it, he couldn't get the prelate across because the keep. This is why he builds a transport ship. Because otherwise, he's going to run the prelate down here, and a knight health unit is not getting past this. And he didn't want to delete the wall, so this is his only choice. He'll push troops across, villages as well, so he'll be able to reconstruct the defenses in this area. In fact, he needs another town center. And yeah, there it is. Pops another one down. Why town centers, you might be asking? It's not even about the villagers here. It's about the emergency repairs. Remember that town centers, one of the unique things the HRE have is that they give emergency repairs to the area, as long as you're linked in. So what he's trying to do is link this in, so the Elsbach Palace, the keeps, whatever you have here, is going to be able to be repaired every minute automatically for 150 health per second for 20 seconds. Don't ask me how I remember these numbers. I spent too long staring at numbers. Guys, I didn't want to be a mathematician when I grew up. And judging by how bad my maths is when I cast AoE, I'll never be a mathematician, so thank God. Bombards in range of the Elsbat Palace. Remember, this thing has hefty range on it. You do have to respect it. 10 tower range on the cannons. The Bombards, they are in range. And I believe all the... Ooh, 3 villagers left. Okay, that's good for him then. Viper, like, it's problematic if you lose all the villagers there. The pull would delay you. But instead, 2 more Bombards coming in. Villagers here. This is pretty solid. This time he might be able to get rid of the Elsbat Palace, but he's going to have to contest with the emergency repairs. I noticed that there's no aggression anywhere else. It's kind of crazy, actually, because Viper could drop a dock, get a few knights together, and flood them across. And there's no defenses here, actually. If he raids in, Kalp is just going to hemorrhage. Because remember, that although Kalp went for a secondary TC, he didn't go for the Palace of Swabia. There's no Swagia in this economy, right? Once it gets deleted, it is not being replaced anytime soon. These walls are so stupid. This is getting ridiculous. Viper, if he had actually archers instead of just streltsy, he could kill these villages. But because it's streltsy, you need line of sight. And that's why he can't attack them, and that's why he's choosing a double time, which is going to be a big mistake he'll learn about quickly. Instead, Bombards will just focus fire down. Really need to start working on that Elsbat Palace. This is so frustrating for him. Sacred Site, that is very ambitious, Kalp. And you are going to probably be denied in a sec. Because Viper sees you. Damn, son. Old man's going to need a hip replacement after that one. Now, resources. Is anyone drying up? I don't think so. They're both pretty healthy on wood. They've got, I'd say, 20 minutes at least left in them before they start depleting wood. At the current rates, 30 and 25, yeah, they're not going to run out anytime soon. In fact, Viper has a lot more reserve wood. I think he actually has the edge here. Kalp's drained himself a bit fast here. We're starting to see that difference we talked about, right? The HRE gather these resources quicker when they're buffed up. They don't make more of it, though. Whereas Viper really has got good bang for buck via the Wooden Fortress influence, giving an additional 20% wood on the drop-offs. So that's why there's so much tree left, right? There's all these small little patchworks. There's a chunk of tree here, another baby tree line. Like, it's just so much better for him. Because when we look on the side of Kalp, he has got these small little, patches of trees. But he's already quick depleted for this one, and he won't take long to munch through this secondary here as well. And we can even see it in the numbers as well, as Viper's starting to build up a surplus. Speaking of which, Viper moves in, streltsy. Trying to blow him up. Oh, he gets the shots out. Timing good. Blitzes right through him. A lot of villagers down there. Cost him a few streltsy, but worthwhile to gain some ground. Remember, the Sacred Site did get capped in the end. Kalp bought enough time for that. However, Bombards are making a lot of holes here, turning these stone walls into Swiss cheese quickly. And Kalp. What? He's doing trade. He's actually doing trade. As the HRE, you don't get any added benefits either as the HRE. You pay the full price of a trader, and you don't get to choose what you return. And it's only 66 gold per travel. I'm pretty sure Viper can outdo him with hunting cabins. He has enough tree lines left for this as well. If he pushes hunting cabins everywhere, he's going to get pretty damn good trickle. And the difference is, like, he's not investing pop cap, whereas Kalp is in the traders. Speaking of pop cap, a lot of pop cap might be about to disappear. Fight underway. streltsy. Oh my god, it's like Nobunaga versus the Tug of the Cavalry here. Brrr, everything just fallen. Can't handle the streltsy, folks. You will back. A bad trade there for Kalp, and congratulations, you killed one 4-5 power save wall. You know what is going to be killed? The Elsbat Palace. The amount of Bombards here is too high now. 6. You can't repair it quick enough. It's actually on cooldown. The villagers working overtime to try and keep it alive, and it forces the fight. A fight that Kalp doesn't necessarily want to take just yet. Bombards are fine for the moment. 7th one wheeling in as well. Starts to just take out all the siege at the back line. Forces Kalp away. Elsbat Palace reprioritized here. Charging for the horsemen, but too many streltsy spread out in line formation, ensuring that they all just target different individuals here with that maximum firepower. And now horsemen in the composition, a healthy transition for Viper to make here, because opportunities are now opening up. Once this expansion is gone, once attention is drawn away from the sacred sites, he can raid in with the horsemen. Because remember, this passing still isn't even walled up. So he has a quick way in. There's a quick way in onto the back line, drawing them back and ensuring that they're going to be able to set fire to the Elsbach Palace. And it looks like it is going to be crumbling here. The reduced damage is not good enough. The influence is going to be gone, and after that, the keep in the town center will not last long. Remember, the only reason it took that long is the 33% reduced damage. Speaking of reductions, streltsy line is getting a little bit thin here. Seems to have spent a little bit too long on the Cape Boss diet. Needs to replenish fast here. For the moment, it's going to be switch up in the Horseman because Viper is starting to drain himself dry on the gold. Now with his Horseman, he gets the edge to rush in. Onto the Springles, trading out effectively here. Giving their lives over to keep the Bombards alive. The premium unit in these formations at the moment. The Elsbach Palace being rebuilt up. Isn't ready to rock and roll just yet. Only one villager working on it. And I feel like this villager is not going to be fast enough. As the Bombards start to get in range, now they can target out the town center. Emergency repairs are not going to be available much longer. And it's going to crumble. And Kaup, instead of cutting his losses, he reinforces the fight. Mistakes have been made here. Because this fight is over. And with it, your attempt again to win with the Sacred Site is going to be over. Second time, second fail. How long can you keep doing this? Kaup right now, retreating back to his base, just Googling the definition of insanity. Needs to make sure he's not committing to that too hard. And all he's just being met with is a really weird face that doesn't tell him if he's actually making a mistake here. Because if he comes back for this Sacred Site again, it's not going to end well. Unlikely he will ever get the Elsbach Palace back up again. So now you need to rethink. A switch up is going to be required because if you keep fighting here, it's going to be to your detriment. There is a rushing opportunity. The problem is with this keep on this choke point, which doesn't have boiling oil, but Kaup doesn't know that. If he did, he could actually just flood through with Horsemen. And he could easily kill off a lot of this eco at the back. Because they're both eco-fragile, right? It's 2TC versus 2TC. No Palace to Swagia, no reduced production time on the villages. So any damage done is going to stick. And also, Kaup is condensing his eco a lot more if you think about it logically. Like, this trade is going through your farmland. So there's a high-value target in your main base right now. You don't really have defenses on the way there. Like, it's a direct sprint in. Only one outpost defending it. And look at this. Kaup, he's using the transport ships. He went upriver. He snuck in. There were no Springwood upgrades. Mistakes made. Viper didn't get the defenses. The Wooden Fortress heavily damaged. That's going to get torched down. He's going to have to respond to this. The problem is that he's pop capped, and he has so much in streltsy, he doesn't just want to delete it to replace it. It's not an efficient choice. In fact, that streltsy count is ridiculous now. I mean, how many are we up to at this stage? It's going to be a sizable quantity. I'd say it's around 50. Close to 50. Yeah, 45. 48 now. Yeah, streltsy will get rid of the Raiders. Kaup's little Raiders are not going to be able to find the maximum impact they're looking for. And look at the impact of this fight. Streltsy ignored Mangonel wheeling in Kaup. Look at the target. Frontline is about to be wiped out, though, so he needs to be fast for this. And one Mangonel is just not going to cut it. Horsemen are going to peel back, though. Viper shows some respect. Interesting choice here as well. Considering that Kaup doesn't have Langsneck, he has no way of actually holding back the Horsemen. Instead, streltsy are just going to pick him apart again. Bombards. Wasting a lot of time going after the walls here. Elsbach Palace perpetually in a state of Kaup's game as everything is on fire and everyone is panicking and dead. Because these trades are getting worse for Kaup, folks. Look at the numbers right now, good lord. And the transport ships even being targeted out. More troops to hold the front line. Still only one Mangonel though for Kaup. Kaup running out of wood. He went into the Springles instead. Little sniper rifles as they are, in this quantity they can take out the streltsy one by one, but what about your front line? Does it end up being good trades? Is the real question mark here. He needs Mangonels, and that's why he's actually getting more out now. Wait, no. No. What? Kaup? Okay. What? Oh my god, he lost the marketplace! What? That wasn't a raid-in, right? I didn't miss that. He deleted the marketplace. Intentionally? There's no way we would have seen a raid go through. I mean, traders can deposit at docks. Remember, it is a trade site. But I question whether that's a longer route. It's probably the same distance. In fact, remember, he was getting, what, 66 before? We can see. He's getting 38 now. Wait, was it 66? I'm pretty sure I'm certain he was getting more in the land trade. Why did he do this? And now he doesn't have a marketplace. And soon he won't have a front line. The streltsy are moving in. And they actually sniped out with the Mangonels and Springles. Oh my, big mistakes made here. Viper's had enough of this. He throws away a bunch of streltsy because he knows he can afford to replace them. And Kalp is in trouble. He has to run. No double time available just yet. But it's coming off cooldown, and that could spell trouble here. Luckily for him, Viper is going to back off for the moment. I still am perplexed. I know, yeah, it was 60. Okay, it's 75 now. So it's correct. It's actually recalibrated. He's getting slightly more out of this. Wait, no. No! No, this is... No, that's the only reason. It's the other one. Kalp? Buddy, we need to talk. Why not a marketplace? You've got them here. I am so confused right now. I'm pretty sure you don't by default get more. Okay, guys, the trade route's been fixed. It's been fixed because he has no choice now. Viper just helped him out. I am perplexed right now. This is... There's so many questions. This should have been the trade route originally. Look, he's getting 129. I think it was a misclick. I think when he deleted the marketplace, he didn't realize they switched over to the docks. I think it automatically done this. So Viper getting rid of the dock actually just helped Kalp's economy. He actually just doubled up the efficiency of it. Thank you, Viper. Round of applause for assisting Kalp there. What a nice guy. I mean, I've interviewed him. He seemed very nice when I done the interview. And it seems even in game, he's a lovely fella. As he helps tweak Kalp's eco to be vastly more efficient here. That seems appropriate. You know, think about it logically, guys. Viper wants to be the best player in the game. You know, and you say that, oh, Kalp was making a mistake and he was exploiting it, but you want Kalp at his best so that when you beat him at his best. Now Viper. He's gone full chill mode right now. He's fully rebuilt. He has actually got good reserves. Both of them have, in fairness. Like, actually, the issue with Viper right now is his gold. And he's got limited deposits that he's actually extracting from. This one's down to half value. Front one has been tapped dry with just a few villages. After that, there's no gold. And this is the problem, actually, because Kalp did go into trade and because you never raided in, because you've actually let up off the pressure, Kalp is now going to boom. And you're not. Why is Viper just standing here? Because he's going trade as well? Oh, baby. We're getting it. Now, Viper, he's only got one marketplace producing traders, and he's vastly behind Kalp at this point. But he's going to catch up. And remember that once he does catch up, he's going to exceed him because he's got the hunting cabins on tree lines, right? 24 gold here. Obviously, a lot of them did get blown up. We got another 27 over here. 3 here. Whoop-de-doo, it's still something. Then you head up here. He's still got the hunting cabin for 34. Then he's got some over here for 20. 27, 22. You see what I'm highlighting here? And then on top of that, he's also got the high trade house. And remember that before you even say, yeah, but Kalp's got like a lot of relic gold trickle. No, he went to Burgrave Palace, remember? He didn't go for Regnitz Cathedral. So although he did get free relics, he didn't get the additional value as the HRE. And remember that on Mongolian Heights, for balancing reasons, both sides spawn free relics. And both sides did pick up those free relics. But Viper didn't go for Tithe Barns. What? Considering that once the patch dropped, I think Viper was the first player consistently getting Tithe Barns, I'm a little bit lost at the fact that he didn't go for this. I wonder if this was just like a I forgot about it moment, because it does pay for itself quickly. Like, it's a hefty investment of 500 gold initially, but remember that each relic you have banked does return 30 food, 30 wood, and 20 stone per minute. So it doesn't take long to make a quantity back that pays for the investment. Okay, so Viper... Wait, is he even produce... Viper is actually full AFK. Like, okay. In fairness, you know, it's quite exhausting, folks. You know, in CSGO, they get the overtime, then they can call a timeout. We don't have them in pub games. There's no pause functionality. Viper, going for the fastest poop of his life as he tries to get back in this game before he gets blown up, and it looks like he's back in business, folks. Pretty sure Viper just went to make himself a pot noodle quickly. He's munching on it now. He's playing one-handed. We can tell by the fact that his horsemen have just ran to their death and aren't doing anything. The streltsy, though, the double time. 45 coming in on the flank. Oh, the Nobunaga run! He's in. And your front line won't last long, and the front line is not healthy at all. I mean, look at the mix in here. Calp's literally went into the subway and he said, I'll have one of everything. Archers, spearmen, man-at-arms, knights, horsemen, but where? Where are the Langsneck? Surely you can afford them. Still no Langsneck here. Worried they're going to die too quick to the streltsy. I mean, everything dies too quick to the streltsy right now. As Gunpowder is reigning supreme here. Back line isn't going to last very long either. Archers not exactly getting efficient trades at this stage. Rush in for the horsemen, going to the springholes, understanding that they must both be running out of wood soon. Reserves are still there on both sides, but Viper understanding that he has plenty more wood to throw away because he's been hoarding. Been a little Smeagol in this game. Mangonels are going to force Viper back for the moment, but barely a dent. He wiped the army. Look at the count right now. He's still up at 30. He had about, what, half the streltsy remaining in that fight. And he killed all of Calp's. And that's why Calp, although he's replacing the troops instantly, he's going to be draining faster. Especially on the wood if he starts losing the siege like this. Trebs trying to target out, but not getting any value here. Streltsy still a good front line. Culverins are now wheeling out and are going to start sniping out bombards. And it looks like Viper hasn't noticed just yet. He's attacking the walls! Viper, no! Go for the siege. Straight on the Treb. The Culverin, oh my god, this Culverin's MVP. These Culverins, they're finding their value already. They've sniped out more than they cost. And now they will be sniped out in turn. Remember the Springholes with the additional range, 12.5 tile range total compared to the 12 of the Culverins. Means you can actually outdo them. And look at the switch up now. Calp hard into the Archers. Archers are cheaper than Streltsy, and they do have more range. The problem, however, is you're not focusing on the Streltsy. The Horsemen, they're distracting him again. He realizes he has to cut his losses. He's going to fall back. Mangonels are building up, though. And look at the gold. Viper, this full all-in. Look what it's done to him. He's got no surplus gold remaining. However, he has got plenty of Streltsy still in the field. 31 pushing forward. Will be forced back for the moment. Bombards finally achieved their long-term goal. They had to die en masse to the Culverin for this, but he got the wall. Now, the question is, what's he going to do with that broken wall? To find out. Looks like the plan might be just to run in. Then again, why not just take out the gate in the first place? Viper just really hates stone, is what we're learning in this game. He's been very committed to getting rid of every single piece of wall. Almost like he wants to erase any signs of Calp's existence in this entire map. Now the Mangonel switch. I believe this is the first Mangonel we've seen Viper build. 47 minutes in the game. A little bit surprising because I felt like he was the player more frequently pushing Mangonels when we watched Golden League Round 2. Feels like he's kind of changed his strategy though. Understood that it's actually better value just to get the Streltsy in mass, force your opponent to go for the Mangonels, and then outmaneuver them in the fights. And the fight is about to take place here. Knights, Horsemen, everything rushing out. Calp the hard commitment, still no Langsneck here. He's not getting through the front line, he's not getting through the Streltsy quickly. This may be a mistake. It's felt like a mistake each time because once again he's going to be forced to run and hide with his tail between his legs. And the Archers on the wall, a solid play here. Calp now having the solid 7 tile range, turn these into lombos. It means the Streltsy are outranged and outgunned. He will have to fall back again. The wall's not being rebuilt, not being repaired so far. Calp is slowly losing the defenses. For the moment he holds, but for how much longer can he? Although he has the resources to a certain extent, he doesn't have the territory. You can see he's slowly giving over some ground. And remember, although Viper was gold capped a moment ago, it switched hands now. Calp is the one drained dry here. This Culverin investment will save him for the moment, but he needs to keep it alive. Each one of these costing 1,000 resources. It's not a cheap investment. You can see the majority of it being in gold. While this is happening, Viper did start to sneak in the wooden fortresses. How's the trade looking? Calp's beginning to scale up to a decent degree, right? 22. Has Viper been doing the same, though? 21, so he's caught up. That's why his gold looks good now. That's the gold differential, right? When he didn't have the trade online, he was starving himself because he was actually having to afford Streltsy at 90 gold and then also the traders at 75 gold. Now that he's fixed that and got the traders to a critical mass, he can once again afford to just push Streltsy non-stop. because they're trading so damn effectively. And that's the problem right now with what's been happening. Calp is only now pushing hand cannoneers, but he can't really afford it at this stage. He's gold capped. He's gold capped because he's been going to the Culverins, Mangonels, Man-at-Arms. Where are you meant to get that type of gold level to then also afford the hand cannoneers as well? Especially considering these units trade equally by default, but not economically. Because Viper, well, his have a 25% discount. And he's going to discount your hand again. Knights bait you away. Oh no, the auto attack count. Bad fight, real bad fight, and now he's out of position. And the retreat is going to cost him most of the army. Calp, like this might not look like a big deal because you keep looking at the food number. Ignore the food number. We get it. They have enough food to solve world hunger. I'm more concerned about deforestation and the price of gold in the coming years, because that is where both of these players are lacking. And now also Viper opening up new fronts, starting to breach the walls in the north as well. Remember, Calp, he's exposed here. That's the difference about the designs, the machinations of the way they've done this. Because Viper's centralized, he's guarding his trade route. Calp is not. His is a little bit too stretched over to the east side, and because these wall ups came out on both sides, nobody shows any intent of playing in this area. This could be a very astute play. Just 2 bombards could kill off the entire trade economy. And even if you say, oh, well, Calp will respond. If Calp does respond, remember that he's running foot infantry. So running all the way up there to deal with that puts you out of position in the center. And that'll mean that Viper will gain ground one way or the other. And it looks like he's doing exactly that with the movement in with the horsemen. Looking onto the villages instead, though. They will peel back. Textiles should protect them. Walls are going to be rebuilt. But you can see, actually, Viper fully reposturing here. He's going to shift the battlefield. Interesting choice as well, considering that there is a lot of defenses up here. It's going to waste a lot of Viper's time. And he will identify these defenses now, as he did move in with the horseman. Sees everything with the wooden fortress. Looks like he did actually go for the additional range. Solid choice here. Yes, at this point, when you reach your stalemate, I know it's a 1v1, but some people are wondering why a certain building doesn't get built. Yes, that was a Wonder reference. The reason is gold. If either player chooses to spend that much gold into a Wonder, they give the edge over. I think both players understand at this stage. They're seeing this trade happen, so they know that both of them are gold-starved. They have to be gold-starved. It's a limiting resource for them. Food is never running out for these 2 civs. And although wood might eventually, you can at least drive that wood market with gold again. And actually, that's another cool detail. You can usually see when your opponent is out of a certain resource if you just check the trade. If you quickly check the marketplace and see that there's terrible values in buying, you know, or selling wood or selling stone, then you can tell that they're making a play hard into stone or wood or whatever. Well, after that shift, it looks like Viper did actually take a heavy hit. Like, speaking of the gold front, where are his bomb? Oh, no. Bombards, not exactly the bombard warriors we were promised here. I think Viper just lost a bunch. Now, it doesn't sting him as hard as it would Calp. Remember, he does get the discount here, as you can see, only paying 480 gold and 320. So, nice, beautiful little buffer of the high armory, as it does make them 20% cheaper, but it's still a hit that you have to replace. However, he can definitely afford it, and it looks like Viper doesn't care about bombards anymore. 1 or 2 to break the walls, but other than that, it's the Springles, because the Springles beat out everything. Oh my god, the range on these! Yo, these trades are bad for Calp. Culverins are going to wheel back, but Culverins can't even deal with this. Remember, they've got 12 tower range. With the shutter triggers plus the banded arms, the Springles outdo them. And although one-on-one, a Culverin will win, yes, this isn't a one-on-one affair. 7 Springles will rinse you at this stage. And I love this again. Look, the outpost on purpose. Viper just wants more vision. And he also wants more holes in the lines. Calp. This is problematic. I think Viper's understood how he can win this now. Like, the key weakness that Calp has shown, his army is inflexible. It's immobile. The culverins, the spears, the crossbows, like, they can't move. And Viper, just with small groups of horsemen, can completely displace you like this. This is smart. In fact, if he opens up the north side, he can do it there as well. And flood through, and he'll be able to chip away at the economy. And although it may take a while, like, the damage will eventually add up, right? Like, you can see the surplus is building up for the moment, yes, but that doesn't last long when you keep throwing away 100 military pop cap on each side in these fights. Did we continue to extend the trade as well? Yeah, so Viper now up to 27. I think Calp may have stopped. Yep, 22. He's been locked there. So getting less value now. Also, in terms of the trade returns, yeah, they are comparative. 128 to the 129, just 1 gold in it. I don't think that 1 extra gold Calp is making makes up for the deficiency in the count. I'm not a maths expert, but I'm pretty sure even I can work that out. That is not as good as you'd think. This is the problem. Calp's kind of just, like I said, he's the fat kid in the candy store that gets told that everything is half price. His response is instantly one of everything. Except Langstack, weirdly enough. So Langstack at this stage are what, the licorice in the store? Why does he hate Langstack so much? Well, there's a good reason. It's the streltsy. The streltsy killed him so fast that Langstack can barely get value. That's why he doesn't want to build him. But maybe he should be trying to gamble on it just to get in, because if he does actually reach this formation, that cleave damage will wipe out the streltsy. Well, nah, for now, the streltsy might just wipe out you. You know, one of the downsides of playing the Roost as well is although the streltsy are cheaper, you can't use stone walls the same way that Calp could, right? Hand cannoneers on walls, they go up to a decent tower range of 6. Streltsy can't do that because you can only build wooden walls. Well, isn't it wonderful that Calp keeps rebuilding these stone walls, that if you choose to take a fight in a bad area, Viper does always have the option of going up on the walls. So there you go, guys. If you really want to win that late game when you're playing with the streltsy, the solution is to bait your opponent to build walls. Oh, the damage! Yo. Was that a Springald or was that a round of fire from a galley? One after the other sequentially. Oh my god, everything's just getting butchered. If this is how powerful this can look now, just try and think back to when it was the age of Springald. Actually, don't think about it. It actually hurts my brain. It hurts my eyeballs to watch back that footage. Thank God they're more balanced these days, but they're definitely looking a little bit broken in this matchup. And this was someone we alluded to, right? At the start of this game, is when you reach Imperial, although the Roost hand has been somewhat discounted, it still has a lot of upsides, with the Springalds having more range than you do on your Culverins or your own Springalds, and then also the streltsy being cheaper. It's astute what Viper has done here. He played exactly into his strengths, and he's going to do it again. Starts to trade out. Mangonel's forced to retreat, but they can't get away fast enough, and instantly the Knights realize they've made a mistake. And Calp, the indecisiveness. He's like a curious kid seeing an iron and wondering if it's hot. And yes, it is, as he gets burnt once again. It's like watching someone with a phobia of water think about getting in a paddling pool, isn't it? Calp's like, ooh, what if it's too deep? What if it drowns me? Only in this case, it's actually not a paddling pool. It's a 12 feet deep swimming pool. And Calp is at risk of drowning. So instead, he's going to flood in before that becomes a problem. Moves in onto the caravan line because look what happened, Viper. He went out of position. He went around again. And this means he has to move fast. He's got the double time to work with. He needs to get down here before the flood through does commence. For now, Viper, his eco lines are being targeted. Calp moving in. Culverin line even being used as siege, but the Springals, look at the speed on these. Brrr, instantly gets one. Trade out, streltsy moving in. Now this could afford a lot of value to Calp, but it could also cost him a lot as well. If he doesn't kill off enough this caravan route, he's going to be in trouble. And it looks like he might be. Streltsy move in. Trade out are good. Culverins wheel it back for the moment. Reinforcements are not going to arrive. Calp's troops remaining are all that's left here. They just have to extract as much value as possible. Viper, after all that, his caravan route down to 16, but that's not going to kill him. Surplus too big. Standing army still too strong. And now, while that was happening, Viper never let up. The bombards continued on in. The true bombard warrior. The Gungans would be proud. And with this many bombards, good luck answering it. There's just a few streltsy can hold you back long enough. And you just become small, insignificant trees to knock over in this situation. You're not the strong front line you need to be. Big cannonballs, small cannonballs, all cannonballs coming straight towards Calp's face. It's going to force him back. Walls going up. And these precisional cannonballs he's firing back are not the same. This is a problem. The trade route has been denied. Calp, he thought he was being smart about this. He thought he was being cheeky. But Viper, he mirrors the move, only his move exceeds expectations. Because the walls are in the wrong place. And the donkeys. Think of the donkeys. Okay, don't look at the donkeys. I'm going to have to censor that. Peta is going to be on my ass after that one. Wheel out. Calp. I think he realizes he's in the tether. He needs a good fight or he's out of this. Knights. March forward. Bait him away. The auto attack. No! Calp! You're looking the wrong way. Turn around. There's cannons aiming at you. The Knight peel back from Viper buys a lot of vital time here. And now the streltsy. They open fire, they get in range, they start to get their attack speed, buff their damage as well. The movement in with the Horseman, sticking on top of him, and Viper throwing away their bombards. No! He makes microed. He clicked past, he was chasing the donkeys. The donkeys were a bait, but enough streltsy remain. The front line from Calp is not going to hold much longer than this. Knights are going to get rinsed, Horseman down as well. It looked like an initial good trade, especially with Viper on the misclick, but enough bombards are left alive. Enough streltsy reinforcements are coming in that Calp is going to surrender the fight again. And from here, it's really going to begin to escalate because the wood count now for Calp. If Horsemen were the answer, you no longer have the resource to provide it. Ground is being gained now. Viper, lap after lap, cover and move like a Delta squad. Delta A, move forward. Delta B, move forward. I've got you covered. Delta C, go on the right flank. Charlie team, reach around from behind and take out those donkeys. There's no trade left for Calp. Not much room to retreat. He's going to fall back, but this is all of his infrastructure he's building up. Feels like at this point he's just building additional to delay this because he can't really afford it. Look at his wood. He's drained dry. And the kill count right now for Viper. Venomous. Every little cut stinks. As he's just poisoned Calp. It's whittled him down to nothingness. Barely any gold, barely any wood. After this line, I don't know how he replaces it. The streltsy line is never folding here. Viper incurring the wrath of the modern military force. The not one step back rule is already in effect. And that means the streltsy can only push forward from here. They're in. Ground being given over. Calp trying to build up a new defense force, but you can see he's no longer pop capped here. Corverins can't save him. Knights can't save him. The only thing that might be able to save him at this rate is if the game crashes. Because the bombard line is still up at 6. Springle's there to defend him as well. And the streltsy, it's all just streltsy now. It's become so trivial for him. Viper's like, well, I could build a melee unit or like a front line. Or I could just make streltsy my front line unit. Get him, boys! Imagine still bringing knives to gunfights. Couldn't be Viper. Could only be Calp. I believe we are about to see a very, very sad act of horse abuse here. Because this is going to do nothing. This is not Riders of Rohan territory. This is Last Samurai territory. Although it's admirable, it is going to be a slaughter. Bombards at least being targeted out, trying to take him down. They are chunky, though. He rushes in on both sides, pinches him. Calp with a wrap-in. Viper standing his ground, though. And remember, the longer he stands his ground, the better it gets. The attack speed and damage increasing with every 5 seconds that passes in this fight. More reinforcements on the way. Viper, no longer pop-capped. Calp looking like he might be able to take the good fight. Bombards all but gone here. Streltsy also being evaporated. Has he done it? Calp the mad lad. And the trade is back on. He says, I'm not done yet. Get me some more gold. Get it quick. Viper, he thought that it was just a throwaway force to get rid of the siege, but Calp so quickly in with the melee slog. He keeps it alive, pushes him back, but Viper, can he bite back now? Back to the drawing board. Because the mistake that was made here is Viper. He got overconfident. He got a little bit too cocky. He didn't think that he needed to produce more troops. He didn't have streltsy production non-stop. And it means just as you think Calp is going to flatline, he finds signs of life. He's been living on the edge. But now he looks to spread his wings and soar high. This must have been the extended cut, because I don't remember Last Samurai ending like this. Gonna have to redub this one, the rise of the samurai, because those knights come in clutch when they needed to. They baited the fire. They cut off any sort of retreat point for Viper and ensured that he got pinched on both sides. The reason this worked is because Viper wasn't able to maximize DPS. Remember that you get locked in melee when you're engaged and firing on the unit attacking you. And that's what he used to his advantage. He surrounded him. The reason Viper has taken so many of these fights is because he was actually spreading out in a line formation and making sure he wasn't getting flanked. Against melee units, this is effective because it minimizes the DPS of the composition. Not all melee are able to attack. The reason this fight looks so good is because Kalp used military tactics, pincer maneuver here, able to double up the amount of melee damage coming out as he's stabbing at the streltsy line from both the front and the back. Viper, it was a mistake, but it's a mistake he'll make again because he's rebuilt the army once more. And this time, he's taking the shorter route around. He's not going to head over the north side. He's just fine, have your trade. Because if I get right through the center, you can't do anything here. And also, the wood cap is an issue. Kalp, if he loses these buildings, he can't keep up the production rates. Mangonel fire coming in. A lot of Mangonels. Holy crap! 8 Mangonels! Streltsy's on the front line again, holding him back. And the flood through's not good enough. Barely any of them make it through. Kalp, he gets caught off guard. The rocks will hail from the sky. And they will lead to Kalp's demise. I don't think that was a Mangonel attack as much as that was a meteorite strike there. And with 8 Mangonels and no anti-siege, how the hell do you reach this? The line formation again to hold you back. This time the Mangonels to prevent the clump up of melee. Kalp, he needs to rush around the front line, holding him at bay. Streltsy preventing him from going around. We've got an attack on time. The scouts are coming out, but Kalp, that is not going to cut it. Because this time, Viper is going to cut deep. Bombard's taking out the production buildings. Mangonel's taking out any attempt to flank around. And Streltsy, the backbone of this game from start to finish for Viper. You can see, nah, it's just scouts. Don't be deceived, folks. Those golden hats are a lie. Those are not knights. Those are Imperial Age scouts. They can do nothing. And a sense of irony sets in. The win condition Kalp set for himself twice over, Viper now takes as his own. And after he's done taking that win condition, I believe he will be taking the northern bank of Mongolian Heights as his own. Because Kalp has no way of rebuilding these buildings quick enough. Nowhere left to run and hide. The Streltsy may have been wiped once, but they will not be wiped again as they march forward and give Viper the win. Wow. That backfired quickly. I've got to give it to Kalp, right? That was a clutch play to keep himself in that game. That looked game-ending in that stage. That wraparound was so fantastic. But there was no true adaptation. When you get down to it and you get back to that choke point, it's still the same game it's been for an hour. Streltsy are not susceptible to flank attacks on these crossings, and that's the difference. This time around, though, Viper, he says, you know what? This has been a stalemate for a long time. Bombards may have been a mistake. Mangonels are cheaper, and you've just been zerging me. So that switch up is so quick, so critical to the success here that when it wipes a huge contingent in the army, there's no way that Kalp can replace it quick enough anymore. Also, the cool thing is because Viper, although he didn't get that kind of decisive blow the last fight, he'd done enough damage to the infrastructure that he damaged Kalp's production rates, meaning he can't maintain pop cap even if he can afford it. And affording it is a problem already, right? Trade got delayed for so long. We saw the numbers. Wood and gold was never really going above 1,000. Whereas Viper, although he maybe you say, okay, maybe he made a mistake on the fact that he didn't keep pushing Streltsy immediately after that fight. It didn't hurt him because his production lines were never hit. And also, he was just pushing and transitioning anyway. Like that Mangonel switchover might be the best looking Mangonels I've seen since the patch. Some people were kind of questioning, it's like, huh? Mangonels? Did they do anything? Like, I don't feel like they've done it. Yes, they did. 8 Mangonels means that in that choke point, when you box up with that melee line, when you get stuck on the Streltsy, it's never going to be a good trade. Because you're instantly going to get blitzed. Knights are going to go down. Horsemen are going to go down. Anything you throw at that front line is going to get evaporated by that many Mangonels. And also, with that many, you can split off to deal with different groups. You don't just have to target one stack altogether with that, right? It's not like when you've got 3 and you have to target one chunk of the formation. That's why Viper done it. He understood that if he slowly built into Mangonels, it's a little bit obvious, doesn't really catch your opponent off. If you just immediately shift like that, and Kalp isn't expecting the transition, he then has to go back to the drawing board. And the problem with that is that while Viper due to his territorial control, has a giant-ass chalkboard you'd find in a classroom at university. Kalp just has a little etcher-sketcher, which just doesn't have the same amount of drawing room.